Hello everyone, I'm here with Mr. Brian Garcia. He's running for the Arizona State House of Representatives for District 8. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's a little hot, but hanging in there. How are you?
I'm doing great. Okay, so my first question for you is, what inspired you to get into civic engagement and decide to run in this election?
Yeah, so a little throwback. I actually got involved in civic engagement right here on ASU. I was starting off my first year, got involved with the ASU Young Democrats, and we had a ton of candidates come in and out. I come from a first generation of families. I'm the first one to graduate high school in my family, and so we didn't really have like a way to get involved other than being part of different organizations. But being involved with the ASU Young Democrats at the time really introduced me to a whole host of issues and candidates, and from there it kind of just took off. And with respect to why I'm running now, this is my home. This is where I grew up. I went to McClintock High School, just not too far from here, and I'm a triple Sun Devil. And so being part of the community and seeing kind of the need of who we need down at the legislature advocating for us, it only felt right to have someone like us from our community run to represent us.
Wow, I'm just taken away about really feeding back into your community. You mentioned, going to ASU, growing up here in Tempe, going to McClintock, just a couple minutes down the road. And you mentioned being first generation. I'm a first generation student myself, so I kind of see a mirror right now. Can you kind of talk about how you're a role model to different groups of students, whether that's identity or in your career? How have you been a role model to different students who may want to pursue the same career that you want to do?
Yeah, so I always have a tough wrestle with the idea of a role model because there's so many different folks that I look up to, right? But for me, it's always been being your most authentic self and holding true to your values, and even the most toughest decisions that you may interact with. And from that, I kind of use as kind of my guiding compass in a way to make sure that I'm staying grounded and staying focused on who I am and what values I hold true, while still having an open ear and listening to folks who may disagree with me from time to time, and who might disagree with as well. But I think it just depends on staying true to yourself and going with that.
What are some of the key issues or topics that you are going to advocate for in your term, if elected, or what are you currently, advocating for?
Yeah, I think my top number one is fighting for public education. I'm a proud product of public education. As I mentioned, I also got to serve on the Tempe Union High School District Governing Board for 4 years, and there got to push for a ton of issues and advocate for things that really impacted our day-to-day, whether it was students, staff, or even the community at large. So that's certainly my number one, knowing it inside and out. And then it comes back to reproductive freedoms. We have Prop 139 on the ballot to enshrine abortion access, reproductive freedom into our Arizona Constitution to make sure those protections are in place. But there's still other things that impact reproductive freedom down at the legislature, so continuing that advocacy. And then coming down to democracy, we have a host of challenges that we're seeing, not just in Arizona, but across the country. But I always like to say Arizona's kind of ground zero when it comes to a lot of the issues that we're seeing. In addition to water, access to affordable housing, in addition to access to affordable health care. I lost my dad to stage 4 pancreatic cancer not too long ago, and that really just turned our world upside down. And so being able to bring that experience along and share it with folks, despite how difficult it may be, to kind of put in another perspective of why it's important to make sure that healthcare is affordable and doesn't bankrupt our families.
Wow. I'm so glad that you have a broad variety of issues that really impact many different people. My last question for you is, why should students get out and vote on this election and be civically engaged?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I certainly heard when I was a student here as an undergrad was that students don't vote and don't care, and we all know that's not true. We know that all of students truly care and want to make voices heard, and the best way about doing that is by voting and showing up to turn out and vote. We're seeing a whole host of different communities show up, but at the end of the day, it's making sure that not only you yourself turn out and vote, but you encourage your friends and your family members to turn out and vote, irrespective of party. I think showing that the student voice and the youth voice is present is going to be the change maker, and bringing more folks to talk directly to students, because I think that's what we're missing in the long run.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.